Just a little housekeeping here before we start. Please make sure, if you don't have one already, you have each of our handouts. There's 2 of them. And the second thing is, I'm going to show you a lot of information on the screen. Don't worry about it. At the end, I'll give you a link so that you can go get the whole PowerPoint and pull any of that information you want off. So we will get to that. All right. So let me talk about what we're going to try to do today. Don't let this agenda scare you. The first half of it really is to talk about who and what we are and what we're trying to accomplish, and a few of the small pieces of outreach. And the second half is to talk about what we really need your help with, and that's called school visits. And we'll try to talk about all of them. Now, the 2 of us that are here, Azmi, handing out our flyers. Azmi is my counterpart in Indonesia, looking after outreach, and she's really in charge of all of this. I call her the boss as we go along, and her background is in education as academic head and as a math teacher within Indonesia. I'll get to something in a minute. I just had a thought, but I won't do it now. My background and information, I'm the Canadian version of Azmi. However, I would like to tell you that my job is to not have a job. As soon as we can, I become obsolete, and that's happening very quickly because Azmi is very capable at what she's doing. My role was to show her what we did and why it worked and all the pieces of it. Then her job is to run with it. My job at this point is to help you understand what it is we're trying to do, and then Azmi will be in charge and I'll be in Canada, is the idea. So I currently work part-time for the Center for Education, Math and Computer, CEMC for short, in the math faculty at the University of Waterloo. And I'm just going to stop here so that I can get this all sort of organized in your heads. The University of Waterloo is a fairly new university. It started in 1957, and it was started as an engineering university and a co-op engineering university. And the reason that was there were tire manufacturers in our area at that time, automobile tires, and they were hiring students coming out of university with engineering degrees that couldn't do anything. They were smart, they knew a lot, but they knew nothing about industry. They knew nothing about how to work within an industry setting. And so the people who started up our university said, why don't we have it so they go to school, then they work in our tire factories, then they go to school, they work in our tire factories, and that way, when they're done university, they'll be able to fit right in and be a valued part of our industry. And so our university was set up that way right from day one. You know, the math faculty came along much later. It came along 10 years later, actually, in 1967. I'll give you a bit of the background of how that happened, because it's a bit of my personal story, but I can tell you that the math faculty at the University of Waterloo is the only math faculty in all of North America that grants Bachelors of Mathematics and Bachelors of Computer Science. And it is also the largest math university in the world. We have 7,000 math students at our university. We have 3 buildings absolutely chock filled with math. And when I say math, math to me is all of it. I know in Indonesia quite often we break into little groups. You know, we've got the statistics group over here and the computer group over here. No, we're all one big happy family. We do have all of those things, but it's all under the umbrella of our math faculty. And within then the math faculty at the University of Waterloo is this organization called the Center for Education, Math and Computer. And it doesn't make any sense at all. We have the top floor of the math building. We have the best office in the place, and we don't work for the university. We work for high schools and elementary schools all over the world, trying to provide help to raise the level of mathematics. The business model that we're talking here does not make any sense at all. But that the CEMC should be allowed to exist and spend money and do some of the things that we do when we don't teach courses, we don't do research, we don't do anything for the university. But it is a nice relationship between the two of us that's been built up over many years that has allowed the university to help us out by giving us a place to live and grow and do what we do. And we have in turn helped up the university by making it the largest math university in the world. And I'll try to explain some of that as we go along. Now at the Center for Education Math Computer, I do work on all of our math contests, trying to make sure the questions are at the right level. But the biggest thing I do is school visits. All over Canada, but also all over the world. I've been to China, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, India, and I'm sure I'm missing at least one. I've done the whole circuit down here. I first came to Indonesia to visit schools 4 years ago, and then came again 3 years ago. And I'll tell you, the first time we came, most of the schools didn't want us to come in and talk to their students. And we only got into a very few schools. The next year I came, I could have stayed for 3 weeks and gone to 3 schools every day for 3 weeks. Everybody wanted me to come. And it's because what we do is so different than every other university who comes in and says, hey, come to our university, look at these programs we have. I go in and say, hey, don't come to our university, we got too many students already. Let's do some math. Okay? So we'll try to explain that as we go along. I was a high school math teacher. I was the head of mathematics at Forest Heights Collegiate in Kitchener, which is joined right to Waterloo. And actually I was a former student there. I have this thing about going back. I went back to Forest Heights, but I also graduated from the University of Waterloo in the co-op math teaching option. So just let me give you an idea what this co-op thing is for a teacher. When I graduated in 1980, I'd gone to university for 5 years. But in those 5 years, I got a Bachelor of Mathematics, a Bachelor of Computer Science, a Bachelor of Education, and I taught in 3 different high schools for 14 months. 4 months at one high school, 4 months at another, and 6 months at another. In 1980, in our part of Canada, there were no jobs for teachers. There was a real scarcity at that time. It was a silly thing to go into if you're looking at a good opportunity to get hired. Didn't matter. I got hired. Every one of my classmates got hired, and almost every teacher coming out of regular teachers college did not have a job. And again, it was because we were really valued, because we were ready to go into the classroom and start teaching, and we didn't have to go in and start teaching courses. We could go in and start teaching the hardest courses. Now, part of the background of all of this is that I've worked on the contest since 1963. I was 6 years old in 1963. I was licking the envelopes and sealing them shut before they went out to the schools. And the reason I worked on it was that my father is one of the founders. And my father was a high school math teacher, and he had really good students, and he wanted to make his students better. There's no secret how to make math students better. Make it harder. Except there's a problem with that. If you make it really, really hard and your students are all failing, somebody's going to come talk to you. If you're a high school teacher, your principal is going to come talk to you. If you're a university lecturer, the dean's going to come say, what's going on? Can't you teach? All your students are failing. As you well know, we have to make sure that what we teach is fair. And the tests that we give are fair. But on a contest, who cares? Make it as hard as you want. And my dad said, and has said for many, many years, that the secret to making really good math students is making it really hard. And with a contest, you can do that, and it doesn't hurt their marks. And what I say to students whenever we start talking about contests is, If you push yourself out there to do contests and work really hard at them, you might not get perfect on them. In fact, I guarantee you won't get perfect on them. But when you come back into your regular classroom to do a regular test or an exam, you will do better. And as I travel around the world and I talk to schools, I can go into 2 schools that are virtually the same, and at one school do problem solving with the students, and they do just a great job. And then at another school do same problem solving with the students, and they don't do very well. And almost invariably when I'm talking to the teachers, the difference between those 2 schools is the good school is doing contests. Maybe not just a couple of them, lots and lots and lots. And so for high schools, it's easy for me to promote the fact they should be doing contests. Okay, makes the students better. Anyways, my father had gotten this idea and got together with a couple other high school math teachers and the 2 University of Waterloo math profs that were around at that time. Remember, it was basically an engineering university, but certainly in engineering, we're teaching a lot of math there. And these guys said, if we come help with the contest, we're going to be able to find out who the best students are, because we'll see the results of the contest. And they contacted those best students off the contest, and they said, please, come to Waterloo. Well, those students came to Waterloo. Many of them have graduated and gone on to be profs at our university, but over the 50 years, it's snowballed and snowballed and snowballed to become the largest in the world. Our big university in mathematics is built on the contests, is built on the outreach that we do. Last year, we had 15,500 applicants for mathematics for 1,200 spots. And when I say 15,500, we only looked at the ones that were over 90%. It's crazy. And that's been built on the fact that our brand is really strong as a math university. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is how to get a brand and what things you can do that's going to make the students that you've got coming, A, want to come, but B, be really good when they get here. That's the trick. Okay. There's a number of people involved in all of this. I find this a funny dynamic. Along the bottom, you've got sort of the main players. You've got the OJK, who said we need actuaries. You've got Global Canada, the government of Canada, coming into this to say, hey, we're willing to step up and put money into this and help. I'm not sure why, but this is the sort of thing they do. I don't understand the politics of it. The University of Waterloo is involved because we have the largest actuarial science program in the world, and it would make sense that we would try to help with actuaries. We've got Manulife and Sun Life who are throwing in money because they need actuaries and they need help with that. And then we have the 9 partner universities. And we're talking to 6 of the partner universities this week doing this package that you're about to see. And all of us together working together with this idea of trying to come up with 1,000 actuaries in Indonesia. That's the supposedly the bottom line. So what is this outreach? First of all, I want to make sure, and I say this over and over again, outreach is not recruiting. We are not going out saying, come to our university, come to our university. You got to come to our university. We got great problem. Here's how you fill out this piece of paper. Give me a call. Do this. Sign here. Do that. We want you. No. You have recruiters. You have admission officers. That's their job. That's not outreach. Okay? I'm not going to worry about that. What outreach is we want to go make high schools better. We want to go in and help teachers and help the students at high schools try to figure out how they can become better mathematics students. We're going to excite the students about mathematics. We're going to show them why mathematics is important. And we're going to encourage them to be the best they can be in mathematics. And we're going to tell them about career opportunities. And by the way, when we talk about career opportunities here, that's how we get them excited. If you start taking a look at the top careers worldwide, most of them involve a mathematics education. All the top jobs are math. Us geeks, as I like to call us math people, us geeks are ruling the world right now. Hasn't always been that way, but it is right now. And kids really like it when you can tell them that. Now we're going to tell them about all sorts of careers that are important in mathematics, but we're definitely going to talk about actuary because that one is the one that we're really pushing towards. It's just one of many, but in this case for Indonesia through the READY project, it's actuary that we're talking about the most. And there's a word in the front of there that's really important to see. It's the word professional. If you start going out, you have two problems as you want to push kids around here to be actuaries. Problem number one is they don't know what an actuary is at all. Problem number two is their parents want them to be engineers or doctors because those are professionals. Hold it, hold it, hold it. No disrespect to anybody in here that's an engineer. I know lots of engineers. That's easy. Actuary, I don't know that many. That's hard. I'd say it's a bigger profession if we could for all. And we want to give students ways that they can become better in mathematics and work along to be the best that they possibly can be. So let's talk about why we're doing this. Let's talk about what we get out of it. I mean, why would you put a lot of effort into something if you're not going to get anything out of it? I know what OJK wants. OJK wants actuaries. That's easy for them. The government of Canada, I don't have a clue what they want. I think they're doing it for just a good reason to be a good partner with Indonesia. You know, I think it's that international relations thing, I would assume. The University of Waterloo, okay, that's the big thing. We're going to talk about the CEMC, just a part of the University of Waterloo here. So let's look at the three pieces. First of all, for you, for a partner university, why would you get involved in this outreach? Why would you try to help out and make it work? Well, when this project was put together, there was a set of statistics that I think were just pulled out of the air. The set of statistics were that if we could go talk to 50,000 high school students, that would be all we need to do, we would find 1,000 actuaries. Not a chance. Not a chance. Those numbers are not right. If you go talk to 50,000 high school students, you might find 1,000 math students. And out of that 1,000 math students, you might find 100 who are at the level it takes to become an actuary, right? So our initial thing is a little flawed, but it certainly is true that we're looking to try to get, I think the battery is dying on this, trying to get there. So why are you doing it? Well, you're doing it to try to make high school students better. What can you do to make the schools that you're talking to Sorry. Now we'll try it. There we go. Okay. If you can raise the level of mathematics within the schools, then the students that you have coming in are more prepared. And many of you know that from first-year students, that some of them really don't seem to know an awful lot of mathematics. It allows you to meet students that already, they get to see the brand of your university. And that's what's worked for us, is our brand is so strong. That's why we have so many students coming from all over the world. you're given a chance to let them know that math is cool and that there's great professions out there like actuary that they could go into. Because again, students, why would you do math at university? 2 reasons: to be a high school math teacher or be a university math prof. That's it. Those are the only 2 jobs in the world for math people. They actually believe that. It's crazy, crazy. By doing this though, you're getting a real good chance to do what I call soft recruiting. By going in and doing mathematics with students and getting them excited about mathematics and showing them opportunities in mathematics, and at the same time, just giving them a little bit to know about who you are and where you're from, all of a sudden those students are starting to go, oh, hey, that's pretty neat. Maybe I should look at that university. And it works, because it's different than what everybody else is doing, saying, come to our university, come to our university, come to our university. No, you're just saying, hey, math's cool. Yeah, we do math. Connect the dots. If you think math's cool, we do math, why don't you come with us? And that's the game plan. And the students start to see your university as a really cool place because you got cool people who are out talking to the students. They now go check out your university. They bring their parents to check out your university, and all of a sudden you've got more students applying to your university in mathematics. That's what we want to have happen. What are the benefits for Ready? Well, first of all, this is what Ready's supposed to do. It's all part of the package that's there to try to find these 1,000 actuaries. But, here's where the problem lies. If we have one person doing school visiting, and they actually can get to 2 schools a week, do 2 sessions at each school of 30 students, and can do it for the whole school year, you know, except holidays, about 40 weeks, then that person would talk to about 4,800 students a year. And based on the flawed numbers we had to start with, that's only 100 actuaries. Based on mine, that's 10. One person cannot get out and get enough interest in the high schools. So this one person is Asmi. This is what she's doing right now, trying to see as many schools as possible. But on her own, she gets nowhere. And so like every other partnership, this is where we come to you and say, hold it, how can you help? Because we're not going to get to 50,000, and again, I don't think 50,000 is enough. We need to get to even more. So how can we get you to help us so that we can see enough people? And so the cooperation that we're looking for is important. What about for the CMC? Why is the CMC sending me over to Indonesia a couple times a year and providing things at the university when people from Indonesia come and providing all sorts of materials and things? What's in it for us? Well, first of all, if you go out and improve the level of high school mathematics within Indonesia, you're doing what we're trying to do. That's all we want to do, is improve the level of high school mathematics. Done. That's all we care about. We'll get anybody to help us who will. Problem of the week is already in Indonesia. Hasmi will talk about that in a minute. We have math contests that are written, and what we'd really like to do is try to get those out to more people. The more people the more high school students we can affect, the better it is for us. And we have lots of other resources that aren't really part of this Ready project because of the translation problem of just too much material. But we have a number of other things that we hope starts to get some looks at. And a reason for that is that our external funding is all based on us going to a larger and larger audience. How do we talk to more students? So let me tell you about our external funding for a second. Who's funding us? Well, the University of Waterloo is providing, space for us to live and all of that, and some money for some of the people who are doing lecturing as well as working for the CMC. But we're spending millions of dollars on all sorts of things, and that money is coming from Bill and Belinda Gates. Bill Gates came to the university a number of years ago, came to the CMC, and he said, I really like what you're doing. The outreach that you're doing in mathematics and computer science around the world is so important because we need more mathematics and computer science students. We need stronger mathematics and computer science students. If our global economy is going to continue to grow and do the things it's going to be based on math and computer science. And so what can I do to help? And so he writes us checks for millions of dollars. I get to travel all over the world talking to students on the back of Bill Gates' money, which is an awful nice thing for a guy like me to be able to do. So again, through the READY project, we're reaching more and more students. I mean, you're helping us, but we're reaching more and more students, raising the level of mathematics, and that's good. That's what we want to do. Now, what about recruitment? Are we in this to recruit? No, not really. 15,500 applications, so what? We're going to get to 20,000 applications? It doesn't mean that we're going to have one more student in our student body. One more student in our student body would get us some more money, but all we are really doing is trading up. We're trading off maybe a slightly weaker student for a slightly better student, and we have the same number of students, we get the same amount of money. From a business model, this doesn't make any sense at all. So are we in Indonesia recruiting? No, not really. We do go to the international schools because many of those students do want to study abroad and present to them. Sure, we do that. And are we here to steal your students? Not really. Oh, well, sort of. There are a couple. You have a few international math Olympiad silver, gold medalists around the country, and you're darn right we're trying to steal. In fact, one of them's at the university starting this year. Yeah, I wouldn't lie to you that the very best students, and I don't care what country in the world they're from, we're trying to woo them, just like Cambridge in Britain and MIT in the States and so on. The big math universities around the world are always fighting over those sorts of students. But we're not really here on a big time recruitment thing. We're here to help you get the students that you want. So there's a quick overview of how the people in this thing supposedly fit together. Any questions? I'll keep going then. Well, actually, I won't keep going.
All right. So through READY, we are adopting what the CMC has done. So one of them is problem of the week. The other one is school visit that we will share with you all. For problem of the week, so basically we share mathematics problem solving questions for the subscribers, which is the targeted is the teachers. And also, since READY project is providing information about actuarial science, so we attach the information about actuarial science as well. So basically, problem of the week. So this has to be continual. We send the emails to the subscribers weekly every Thursday. So we launched this problem of the week for Indonesian first version in READY project since 3rd of August. So basically we sent in the first week problem 1, and then in the next week, in the next Thursday, we sent the solution for the first problem and then the new questions. And also in the problem, we attached the information about actuarial science. We asked the actuaries from the insurance company to write an article, and then we share it in that problem of the week. So we would like to share to the students that if they are good in math, so this is the career opportunity for them to take. So up until now, it's been the 7th week for the problem of the week itself. There are a lot of chapters inside of the problem of the week, and we share what the chapters that we will share with them. And since this is the problem solving questions, so it's possible for one question there are several chapters, like 2 or 3 chapters. And also in your handout, we also print out sample problems. We sent the Bahasa Indonesia version and also the English version. So it attached in the last 2 pages in your handout. So that's only the sample of the questions. But for the solutions, it's really description about how this problem solved. So it will be helpful for the teachers especially to work with the students, to share with the students about the solution of the problem. Yeah. So that's all. Turn to Jeff.
And I should tell you that as a high school teacher, this is great. On a Thursday, I get a PDF to print out, and all I would do is post it on my bulletin board. I wouldn't teach to it. I wouldn't do anything. At the beginning of the year, I'd point it out to my students. But those good students who are getting done early and coming to class early, they're up there fighting about the question for the whole week until the solution comes out, and one of them can say to the other, you know, nah, I got it right. It's a great tool for that sort of thing. Our English and French versions, again, English, French being the Canadian languages, are now being picked up by 60,000 teachers around the world, and there's over 1 million students a week doing this problem. So the ones that are going out in Indonesia are actually last year's English problems, but they've been translated to Bahasa. And again, we also have a problem in that our school year is very different than the Indonesian school year as well. And now Asmi's very quickly showing up.
I forget to explain. So this is the page. If you, this is only the shortcut of the website. If you go to this website, you will get this page, and then if you would like to try, you can try to subscribe as well. Just click langganan, subscribe, and then choose the the problem. So we provide for high school only. So it started from grade 9, 10. It means for the grade 10 in the high school, and then 11, 12. So we only provide 2 kind of problems. But actually, CMC has implemented for the primary. So it started from grade 3 and 4. So I think Jeff will share also what the website that you can go for the CMC. But for Ready project, we only provide for 2 for the high school. So just type your emails there and then submit. So you will get the confirmation email about the subscription, and automatically every Thursday you will get the email from us, except for the holiday. Yeah.
All right. As I say, contests are pretty near and dear to my heart because I've been involved in them right since I was a young man. I've done everything from sending out contests to sending out awards and framing certificates and working on the math contest committees for many years now. Come on. There we go. So the CMC and Ready are going to work together to provide 2 contests in Indonesia, grade 10 contest and the grade 11 contest, the Cayley and the Fermat, after 2 famous mathematicians. And they will be translated into Bahasa Indonesia and will be ready to be written along with the English version in February of 2018, so this school year that we're heading towards. CMC is providing all the content. It takes a lot of work to put together a contest like this. Asmi, when she was in Waterloo, worked on the Cayley Committee, and the Cayley Committee is about 10 teachers from across Canada who are flown in 2 weekends a year, and they make up questions, and then they go through the questions to pick the best ones, and they try to put together a paper and fine-tune it. We at the university then look at it and give our feedback, and again, they may have to change some and take some out. Ready is going to look after producing this in Bahasa, printed here, mailed out from here, and this contest will be, or these 2 contests, I should say, will be available to schools in Indonesia for free. All of our contests do have a charge to them if you're doing the English version, but they will be available for free. Again, as something when you're out talking to a school or a group of students or teachers, it's sort of an added bonus thing. Here you go, here's something you can do, here's something you can try. The contests are multiple choice, 25 questions going from easy to hard as they go through. The answers are done on a bubble sheet where they just bubble in the answers. All that gets sent back is the actual bubble sheets. And they're going to be sent to a centralized place in Jakarta, and from there boxed up and couriered over to the CMC, where we'll run them through our machines and get the results out. We don't have a grade 12 multiple choice question, or multiple choice contest. Our grade 12 contests are all full written solution, and that provides a big problem. Yes, we could translate them into Bahasa, but then who's going to mark them? So what we're doing is saying, okay, we'll use our grade 11 contest for all high school students, so the grade 12s can write it. Their results will come back as being unofficial, but they will get a score and can see how they did on the contest. And the schools simply go on to the Ready website. There's a spot there where the math head or the math teacher in charge signs up the school and says, I want 25 of the Kaylee and I want 45 of the Fermat, and they get sent out. They sit the students down for an hour one day, write the contest, throw the bubble sheets into a self-stamped envelope and send it back. It is very painless, very easy for the schools to do, and it should be something that gets their students going. Now, one of the things we want to make sure of here is we'd like to encourage students to write contests. So here's our Bahasa Indonesian version of 2 contests we have, and hopefully we can get lots of students doing them. But we want to really encourage students to write any contest. I mean, we already have many students in Indonesia writing our other contests in English. Unfortunately, there certainly is a charge to that. There are Indonesian contests going on in many centers around. And as a high school teacher, my students quite often wrote 10, 15, 20 contests a year. Because we were doing the math leagues that were available. We were doing all of the Waterloo contests. We were doing the American contests. We were doing the British contests. We were doing the Australian contests. We did every contest we could find. And by the way, the high school I taught at sent more students in math, computer, and engineering to the University of Waterloo than any school in the world. We produced a lot of very high-end kids, and I had 200 and 300 and 400 students at a time writing contests sometimes. This is a really interesting thing to have happen. And then back to Asmi.
All right, so for actuarial science, specifically actuarial science, we also conduct the event, which is Think About Actuarial Science. As we have done it like last month also with UGM, we invited Pa Aditya from UGM to share more about actuarial science specifically. But not only from the university, we invite the expertise as well from the industry to share what is their role as the actuary in the insurance company. In Indonesia, there are a lot of actuary is still for insurance company. So we invite them because baseline data that we found that students doesn't know about the actuarial science, about actuary profession. So if they are good in math, we are providing information that this is a good opportunity for them to take. So it's basically we conducted working with the Teachers Association, Mathematics Teachers Association, or Counselor Association as well, or we conduct it in mathematics competition. Like in the other partner university, if they conduct a mathematics competition, So we conduct the talk show, the seminar regarding actuary, regarding actuarial science. We take the topic in actuarial science, and then they share more about that. So I think we are working on UGM as well. Pak Danang previously, before he went to Waterloo, he told me that there will be an event as well in UGM related to mathematics competition. So I think yeah, we are welcome to have a partner as well with UGM for that event. So we can invite the expertise to share more about actuary profession. Yeah.
Okay, so just some mechanics here around school visits. We'll talk in the second half here about exactly what a school visit looks like and how I think it should work out. But just some ideas around the how do these school visits get started and how do they get finished? Not what happens actually during them. So first of all, schools can go on to our Ready website and they can say, hey, we would really like somebody to come talk to us. Come do some mathematics problem solving. Let's talk about math careers. And they'll be able to sign up at that point. However, not all school visits come from them coming to us. Quite often, we have a relationship. For example, Forest Heights Collegiate asked me to come a couple times a year and do a workshop there. Even though I taught there for 30 years and have been gone now for 6, they like to have me back and like to have me talk. So they'll call me directly and say, could you come on November the 7th? And I say, sure, I can come. Same thing. This university probably has a number of schools that you're well known at and could have a conversation and even say, please, let us come and talk to you. And in that case, that's great. All that happens is you just let our outreach administrator, now by the way, ASME is also the outreach administrator at the moment, but we expect to rectify that in the near future and have an assistant to help her. But you would just contact the administrator and say, listen, I'm going out to this school to do a visit on the 10th of November. And I know there's going to be 50 students there, and they're going to be grade 10 students. The administrator then will look after getting that information into the database because a lot of what Ready's doing has got to be driven by some numbers, some data. Like every other project, everybody wants to know exactly what's going on. Now then the outreach administrator will assign these visits. In some cases they've already been assigned because you've said you're going. But in lots of cases then, there's a list of them. The way this works at the CEMC is that, in fact, I got a set this morning. Out comes a set of schools. This school on these dates would like this sort of workshop. These schools, and there was 5 or 6 or 7 schools. And that list gets sent out to all the people who are doing school visits. And some people might be really busy and say, no, I can't do any of these. And some people might say, hey, I remember going to that school once, or maybe I taught at that school once, or maybe I know something about that school. I'd like to do number 3. And then you get people like me, because really all I do is school visits, because I don't want to do any of the real hard work around. I want to go talk and have fun. So I say, I'll do them all, or do whatever ones nobody else wants to do. That's why I do the most of them. And then the administrator will put together a package of stuff, which includes the question set that you've got there, and we'll talk more about that in the second half. But send the materials that you need to go out and do it. You're going to collect up some other materials, I'm sure, that have something to do with your university to go out, and you've got the materials for the visit. And then at the end after doing the session, the administrator will send out a link to do an online feedback form. And the online feedback form is really important. It contains a number of pieces of information. First of all, just your general impressions of the school. Was it a really good math school? Was it maybe a little weak? Did you see all the students, or maybe did you just see the math club, the very best students at the school? Were they grade 10, 11, 12? How many of them? How many of them male and female? That's a huge piece of the READY thing, is we're trying to count that 50,000 high school students we see, but they would really like it to be 25,000 male and 25,000 female. That would be the perfect demographic that they could get. But we keep track of that. And the other funny one is, there's one question that you ask when you go out. Do you know what an actuary is? And I'll tell you right now what the answer is. No. I've asked this question all over the world that I go, and you ask the question and the students just look at you blankly. I have no idea what an actuary is. Now, our hope is that if we go back to the school the next year and ask the same question, there's going to be like 2 or 3 kids that now remember along the way, and maybe a year later we're up to 10 kids. But Asmi and I had a very funny thing happen at a school visit in January. I asked the question, and there was one young man who was sort of doing this. And so I said, well, do you know what an actuary is or not? And he said, well, my dad's an actuary, but I don't know what he does. So we've got some education to do there along the way. And our biggest question that we've got here, and this is my biggest question for this whole thing, is who is going to do these visits? So at the CMC, who's doing the visits? Well, first of all, almost all of us that work at the CMC are doing the visits because that's part of our role for being there. But we also have many professors or many lecturers who are not in the CMC but are in the math faculty. And they certainly have their teaching commitment, and they certainly have their research commitment, but they also have another commitment. It might be that they're the chair of one of the bigger courses. It might be that they're in charge of some event. Or it might be that they're doing some community relations type work and they're going out to visit schools. We do have a number of professors, especially in the computer science area actually, who really like going out and doing school visits. Who else could it be? Well, because I realize a lecturer at a university has a very busy life in Indonesia, doesn't have a lot of time to be going out and doing school visits. I get that, I do. Even though I would encourage all of you to go do at least 1 or 2. I think it's really important to see what's happening within high schools so that you maybe have a slightly different look at the kids as they're coming into the university or from a slightly different perspective. Like to see everybody do a little bit of it. But who else? Well, I know we got some grad students in here, some TAs in here, some people like that. Oh, maybe we could go out and find a few of your old high school math teachers who are now retired, like me. Well, I'm not retired, I'm sort of semi-retired, but like me. Because if you talk to many teachers, as they're in the last year of teaching at a high school, they're going, I can't wait to get out of here. I am so sick of these kids. I don't ever want to do this again. 5 months later, they're going, oh, I miss it. I wish I could get up in front of a class of kids. I don't suspect it's going to be too hard if you have feelers out to some of those good high school math teachers that you wouldn't find some people who might like a volunteer job even, of going out to schools maybe once every couple of weeks and talking to students. It sort of fulfills that need in them that they, of what they used to do. Gives them something to do. But that is my biggest question is, how do we get enough bodies out doing these school visits to get to 50,000 or hopefully a lot more than 50,000 high school students so that we can effectively actually bring a lot of good students into our university. So I suggest, we're about halfway through, I suggest that perhaps we take just 5 minutes, if that's okay. I know there's some coffee in that. Grab yourself a coffee if you want. And if you've got any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. But I'll start in 5 minutes again, and we'll start talking about what actually a school visit looks like. Is that okay? Good. Okay, we'll get started again. So we've got some ideas here in the first half of why you want to do this. I mean, you want to do it to improve mathematics so you get better math students and get more students interested in coming to your university in all of the math areas, but specifically actuary. So if you're going to go out and do a school visit, there's a few things you need to concern yourself with before you get started. First thing, you need to know something about the school. There are really good schools out there, and there's some schools that aren't quite as good, and you'd like to know that before you go, if possible. You need to know what grade you're going to be working with, and what level they are. And by that I simply mean you might have somebody's grade 11 class that has a group of weak students in it, some average students in it, and a few really good ones. Or you might have the top 5 or 6 or 7 students out of all of the grade 11 classes all at once. And so in cases you have to tailor your questions slightly differently. How's this one? You want to figure out what questions you want to do. Why? Well, because some of you really like statistics, and you'd like to do a statistics question. Great. I don't like statistics. I like geometry. So I want to do a geometry question. I mean, you want to fit this so that it's in your comfort zone as well as you're doing it. A little bit about the curriculum sometimes is worthwhile. For me, I like to know whether I'm at an IB school or a national school or an AP school that I might be talking to. But in some cases, it's also the teacher saying to you, we're doing trigonometry right now. Could you try to fit in a trigonometry question as part of your thing? So what they're working on right at that point. What materials you're going to bring? Again, we'll look at these question sets that we've got available for you, but there's other things that you may want to bring with you, and we'll give you some ideas of that as we go along. And what is it you're going to do to make your presentation your own? At the CEMC, we have lots of people who are doing these school visits, and when we have new people come along who've never done one of these types of visits before, invariably they get sent out to shadow one of mine, because I do the most of them, and one of somebody else's. Asmi, when she came to Waterloo, got to go shadow 5, 6, 7 different people to see how they did their sessions. I don't think anybody does sessions like I do. I tell stories and go all over the place, and that's what I like to do. That's my style. And if you looked at a session that I did and a session that Asmi did, they would be different. And I think we're all different. And so what you want to do as you're looking at this is think about how would you do it? What would you like to do? What are you going to do to make this your school visit as you're going through it? And you definitely have to plan for backup. In Indonesia, I figured out the one thing, you better have the phone number of the school you're going to so you can call them and tell them that you're stuck in traffic. Especially in Jakarta. That's crazy sometimes. Or you get there expecting that you're going to have 90 minutes to do your session, and all of a sudden they've changed the school day because there's a sporting event at the end of the day, and now you've only got 60 minutes. You have to be able to be very flexible with what's going on, because that happens quite often. Now, the first thing I do, because there's always a little bit of a gap at the beginning. Quite often you might have somebody's class, but there's 3 kids coming from another class and 2 kids from that class coming in, and they've got to go to their room to get attendance taken first before they get there. So it takes a few minutes till everybody's really ready to start. And so I like to throw up a warm-up question that I have just sitting up on the screen. And to be honest, I leave it up there so the students who are in there can play with it and give it a try. And then when everybody's there and I get started, I take it off the screen and introduce myself and what we're going to do, and then I go back to take it up. But this question is one that I've used a lot of times. This one comes from the 1963 math contest. It's one of my father's questions from many, many years ago. And it's really funny to see this. I saw at least one paper out there where somebody was doing an awful lot of equation work here. It's amazing how the more educated you are, the more you try to make it difficult. Using a lot of equations is really a slow way to do this particular question. And the students, high school students, if you're looking at them doing this, you might have to explain what successive means, that's 3 in a row. But after that, they get pretty good at looking at the 4 and noticing the P and Q beside it and recognizing that the P and Q has got to be 15 altogether. However, they make a big mistake sometimes where they go, oh, so I'm going to let P be 9 and Q be 6 because that's 15. And of course, as they keep playing the game a little bit more, they find out that doesn't work. Guessing isn't a good idea, and you don't need to do it. But what I find extremely funny about this question is the students who are figuring out how to do it, who come along and say, okay, those 2 have got to be 15. I'm good enough with that, so the 3 there at the beginning add up to 19. And then go one step further and say, if P and Q is 15, then R is 4. Now we're cooking. Now we got something good going on. But I find it so funny with really good math students who've just found a pattern. That's what mathematics is all about. But they've just found a pattern, and they go, let's do it again. If R is 4, then S and T must be 15. If S and T is 15, then U is 4. If U is 4, then V and 8 must be 15. If V and 8 is 15, then W must be 4. Let's work our way back. Let's find out what absolutely every block is and answer the question. And as soon as students do that, I say, what a complete and utter waste of time that was. Who cares that W is 4? I don't care. As a matter of fact, the really good students out there, they take a look at this and they say, oh, S is 7. They don't do anything. They just look at it and say, S is 7. And then you try to get them to explain why they know that S is 7. And all the really good students, well, all they're doing is they're looking at this and saying there's 2 patterns. There's this 4, 15, 4, 15, 4, 15 pattern, but there's also an 8, 11, 8 pattern going on from the other direction. And if you do one way and one the other way, you get good old R, S, and T here in the middle that you know 2 out of the 3. So now you know that S must be 7. It's a nice type of question to talk to high school students about because you're talking to them about how to do things in a nice way, how to be efficient. Because one of the big things that high school students run into a problem with is not getting tests and exams done. Because they spend too much time on things and they run out at the end. We want to be efficient. Here's the second one. I've used this from about grade 6 all the way through to grade 12. The question says put the digits 1 to 9 in such a way that each of the 4 sides of this figure add up to the same amount. The 9th number goes in the middle. If I'm doing this with grade 5, 6, 7 students, I sure hope that they can play around and come up with a solution to it. I'd be really happy with that. As I'm talking about 8, 9, 10 students, I want them to get all of the solutions to it. But if I'm talking to grade 11 and 12 students, I want them to get all the solutions and justify that there are no more. And it's really neat because the kids all try to make the sides equal. If you turn the question around, it's much more fun to play with. What goes in the middle so the 4 sides can be the same? And if I just do this with them, the digits add up to 45. Now I say what goes in the middle. So you have 4 equal sides. In other words, what's left is divisible by 4. Well, I can put 1 in the middle and put 11 on each side. I can put 5 in the middle, put 10 on each side, and I can put 9 in the middle, and I can put 9 on each side. And as long as I can show that that works, I've now justified that there are exactly 3 answers, and I have them all. Nice question for many grades. Asmi likes to do games. Hands-on stuff with the kids, so I'll let her talk about her games.
Yeah, one thing that I always do with the students, because, you know, in Indonesia, there are students that really attach with game. Kalau saya bilang, yuk main game, langsung semangat. So, I always bring this game, so I just simply print out the board, like the chess board, and then I play this game. So this game requires 2 players. So, but it's not about who is winning, but it's about finding the winning strategy. So they have to play again and again, and then I ask them not who is winning. I don't ask them who is winning, but they have to find the winning strategy. So they play more and more, and then they will realize that there is one blocks that there will be a key for this game. So for the students who are really, you know, good in math, they can find easily that these boxes are the key box. So if they go there, it means they will always win. So if they are good enough, I will change a little bit the games. I just simply erase this part. Saya minta mereka melipat kertasnya, and then starting from this box. So they they have to finish in this box, and then they have to find the winning strategy. And then like in 1 or 2 minutes, if they are good in math, so they will find easily that this remains the key boxes. And then I will go to the other games, which is seems to be not related with the previous one. This game is not in your handout. Sorry, I forgot to attach it. So I asked them to analyze that these games, the winning strategy in this game is related with the previous one. I will mention it. And then if they're really good, they can simply saying that, oh, we just make the table like for the dates and month into the vertical and horizontal, like for the first, the second, the third until 31st, and then the month January, February to December. So it's like we start from here, and then this kind of tables, and then have to be end here. So they can find that it's like these games. This is the 31st December. It means the other key the key dates will be 30 November, 29 October until 20 January. So that's the key. So I would say that, okay, that's mathematics. They have to analyze what they have got previously. Like, if they know how to do it, if they can analyze it and make it problem solving, so it will be easily for them to catch up with the other materials, so things like that. Yeah.
Now we always do a warm-up question. Some people like to do a game. One of the guys has made up a set of boards with screws in it that represent towns and with string on it to allow kids to play with the traveling salesman problem. How the salesman can go to all the towns in the shortest distance just by measuring the length of the string. And he plays with that, and then he talks about the mathematics of the traveling salesman problem. Again, he's interested in that. Sometimes there's something that you really like, or a piece of mathematics that you really like to show. I call this a discussion question, something that we can go back and forth with the students on, with us really leading it as we go through. One of the members of the CMC, he loves Pigeonhole Principle. He thinks Pigeonhole Principle is the way to solve just about every problem. In fact, I think he tries to do that sometimes when it's a really dumb idea. But he likes to show students the Pigeonhole Principle. Well, here's one that I would use. And what I would do is I'd start by finding some student who I would have stand up the front and hold onto my piece of paper for me. And then I'd say to all the students, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick a 4-digit number. Any 4-digit number you want, pick any one. And the only deal is it can't be all 4 digits the same. So nothing like 55555. That's pretty boring. So, and I'd ask the student for their number. I'll give you an example of this in a second. Take those 4 digits, write them down in descending order, then write them down in ascending order, and then subtract. And so the students are going, I'm on the board doing exactly the same thing. And when they're done, I say, do it again. Ascending order, take the answer. Ascending order, descending order, subtract. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. So here's what it looks like. If I take a number, say the student gives me something like 4266. So I write down 66422466. And I subtract. What do I get? 6 and 7 and 1 and 4. There I get 4176. Do it again. Okay. 76411467. Subtract 4716. Do it again. Oh, by the way, as I'm doing this, all of a sudden there's a hubbub starting to happen in the classroom. Around there, some kid goes, you can sort of hear it in the background, right? A few seconds later, some kid says, no way. And they're arguing. Because what happens here, really interesting, is that if I do it again, it's really funny to watch the student who does it again and again. Because what happens is, all of a sudden, you're starting to get the same answer over and over again. And what's funny about it is that when we did this in Bali last week at one of the schools, and I was playing this question and running it through, the student gave me a number that took, I think, 8 subtractions till I got to 6174. Of course, then I asked her to open up the sheet, and magic, it's 6174. And I go, I'd say to the kids, man, is that ever cool? I mean, that's so cool. You wouldn't believe, like 617, I bet you didn't believe that. 6174 is a really cool number. There's a lot of things about 6174. Us geeks, we really like 6174. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Because, I like to tell kids that when I graduated in 1980, and people asked me what I was, I told them I was a runner, first and foremost, because athletes were cool, and I was a teacher, because that was okay. It was not cool in 1980 to be a geek. In 2017, it's really cool to be a geek. Geeks are running the world right now, and I'm proud to be a geek. And so I'd tell them all sorts of things about 6174. There's a whole bunch of things you might not have known. It's Capricar's constant. Every 4-digit number where the digits are not the same always end up in 6174. And what's really cool about this is if the student makes a mistake, it doesn't matter. Just keep going. You'll get there sooner or later. As long as you don't make a mistake every time. There's one for 3-digit numbers. 495 works for every 3-digit numbers where not all the digits are the same. And for larger 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-digit numbers, what happens, you don't get to a single constant, you actually get to a group of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that cycle. You get a cyclical group of constants. And you might not have known this, 6174 is called a Harshad number because it's divisible by the sum of its digits. Who cares? Well, Harshad did, right? It's a smooth number because prime factor is all less than 7 and the sum of the squares are a perfect square. I mean, that's neat stuff. Well, to me, and I get excited about it. The kids laugh at me a little bit and they get excited about it. That's what I'm trying to do. But these sorts of questions are questions that might have come out of your research, or it might be a piece of mathematics or a trick that you've come across, something that you really like, that you'd like to present to the students. And usually by the time I get to this point, I'm starting to get a little tired of talking. And so now I pull out the problem book. Now the problem book that you've got is one of ours that we've taken and translated. It is the solution book. I've given you both the problems and the solutions, or ASME actually has given you the problems and the solutions. This is what we give the teacher. There also is a student book that just has the problems and some room to actually do the questions. And I would not go in expecting to do 25 questions or whatever's in this book. That's way too many. I go in looking to do 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 questions, depending on how long the session is, depending on how many other things I'm going to do. And sometimes I might give them 2 or 3 questions to start with, see how they do, to decide whether I'm going to give them a couple hard ones or a couple easy ones. But you get a choice here. You get to go through these questions and pick out ones that you like, that you would like to present. Now, we have these books going from grade 7 right to grade 12. We're not doing all of those. There's only a couple of them that have been translated. But we have a new booklet each year for those grades, and we roll through them about 5 for a 5-year cycle. So when we go back to a school, we're not presenting the same problems year after year. And most of these problems are ones that have come from our various math contests, or perhaps been an idea that didn't really work well on a math contest that then we've sort of modified to use in this format. And so each year we will have a different set of these available for you to take out and use. So I'd like to show you a couple questions that I might use. These aren't all in your books. These are just some of my favorites from all 5 years of the books. Because the contests that we're promoting out of the READY project are both multiple choice, I always like to do a multiple choice question. And here's one I would like to do with, maybe grade 11s or grade 12s. It's a neat question because it allows me to start talking about prime numbers. And you'll notice the construction of the question is such that the numbers A, B, and C are all prime, and they're between 1 and 40, and they're in sort of increasing order there. What's nice about that is they're all bigger than 1. Because if you go talking to high school math students, in fact, if you go talking to a fair number of high school math teachers, they happen to think that 1 is a prime number, and it certainly isn't. So that's something I want to talk about. And so we want to take these prime numbers, we want to add them together so A and B add up to C. And the kids are working away on this, and sooner or later you'll hear some students say, hey, A is 2. Because there's this parity argument that we can get into here, that when we're adding 2 prime numbers together, if they're both odd, they're going to add up to a larger even number, which certainly won't be prime. So A and B have got to be opposite parity. They've got to be even and odd. And because there's only one even prime number, 2, A's got to be 2. And then we're taking the question and saying, yeah, okay, A's 2, and B and C have got to be 2 apart. Write down the prime numbers from 2 up to 30, whatever it is. Count up the ones that are 2 apart, and there's 5 of them. Here's a second question. This is my question. This came off a grade 10 math contest, the Cayley, multiple choice, and over 50% of the students said the answer was 70. The most common answer was 70, which is wrong. It's a sucker question. What have the kids done? They've looked at it and said, hey, the 20 is 2 times 10, all to the 50. We've got 10 to the 50, which is 50 zeros. And the 50 is 5 times 10 to the 20. 10 to the 20 is 20 zeros. 50 zeros times 20 zeros, 70 zeros. Done. Except it's a really dumb idea to break things down into 2s and 10s and 5s and 10s. When you break things down, you break them down into their prime factors. So you'd better take that down to 2 times 5 squared and 2 squared times 5, and then do your exponent laws, and there are actually 90 zeros because the extra 2s and 5s that make up more zeros. Here's a favorite of mine. Teachers look at it and go, what's going on here? This isn't mathematics. Come on, this isn't trigonometry. I don't have this in my textbook in the geometry section or anything like that. No, this is problem solving. And the worst thing a student could do in this case is to sit there and start trying numbers. With 9 possibilities for A, B, and C, there's a lot of possibilities here to work with. So instead, you want to get organized a little bit. Sometimes I help them out and I ask them to tell me 2 things about A. And students very, very quickly come up with the fact that A is even. Okay, that's fine. But then I said, what else can you tell me about A? Invariably you get, well, it must be 2, 4, 6, or 8. No, come on. Something important. That's just saying even another way. And so then a student will look at it and say, A has got to be less than 5. And I say, why does A have to be less than 5? Well, so there's no carryover on the front. There's only a single digit C there. There's no 1 in front of it. And so what can A be? Well, A equals 2 or A equals 4. Again, non-zero is in the question, so we don't have to worry about that. And again, it's interesting to see students now who are trying to figure out something about B without doing anything nice here. Write it down. Write it down. So if you rewrite the question, I get 2B. Whoops. Whoa. And again, this is the type of thing I like, because I like to have some fun with the students and all of this. I'll go, okay, now the first question. The first question is to be or to be, that is the question. And some student in the back goes, oh, you're quoting Shakespeare in a math session. That's really bad. So I look at it and I go, okay. We got 2B plus 2B is C2. Now I get to ask this question. What can B be? I said I worked really hard with which letters to use so I could say what can B be along the way. And of course the kids look at it and they go, oh, B could be 1. And some other kid goes, oh, could be 6. In fact, it could be both. And in the second case, B could be 2 or B could be 7. And if you just add up from then, you get C for free because you know how to add. And it's really interesting because there are 4 sets of ABCs that work to keep this thing alive. However, the question asks, what values do you have for A over C? If you take your A's and C's and divide them, there's only 3 of them because 2 of them are the same, right? Kind of a fun question to play with. Now, my very favorite question of all time is this one. I love doing this question, especially with a mixed group, mixed grades. Because what you'll see is the grade 12 students who are very well taught by their teachers. They will go right to work and they will do exactly what their teachers have told them. This is non-right angle triangles. And in non-right angle triangles, we use the sine law and the cosine law. And if you use it, sine law and cosine law, yes, you'll get the right answer. It's a perfectly legitimate solution. There's nothing the matter with that. But what about the poor grade 9 and 10s? They don't know the sine law yet. They don't know the cosine law yet. How do they do the question? Why am I being so unfair to them to give them a non-right angle triangle question? Well, those students, all they do is they take and drop a perpendicular down from C. And if they drop a perpendicular, what a nice triangle gets built. That's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. One of our magic triangles, we know the ratio of the sides. And we can use that to come up with the answer. And it's so much better than what the senior students are doing. But that's still not good enough. Because every once in a while you come across a student who knows what I call the lazy Canadian solution. Here's the lazy Canadian solution. Why don't you do a different construction so that we build a equilateral triangle so the sides are all 3. 3 from 8 is 5. It's perfectly symmetric. And we can get to the answer without any trig, without any magic triangles, without much of anything. That is a really sweet solution. And I love questions like this. They have this one has 3 different ways to do it. Sort of the long, boring sine law method, the slightly nicer perpendicular method, and the really, really sweet equilateral triangle method. Good, better, and best. And we're always looking for that in mathematics, is how we can do things in a better way. My favorite story about this question is that I did it outside of Seoul last year at a Canadian international school that did Canadian curriculum. And as I did this, one of the students did this solution. I thought, oh, that's great. I walked over and I had a lanyard, University of Waterloo math lanyard. I put it over his head and I said, "You are an honorary lazy Canadian." And the whole group of students burst out laughing. And I thought, man, that's strange. You know, why are they laughing when I'm giving this kid? And one of the students says, "You realize he's Canadian." It makes sense. You know, he was of Korean descent, born in Canada. His parents had gone back to Seoul, and they put him into a Canadian curriculum school. I guess that makes sense. But what I found out later was, when we were having supper with the teachers, was that he was actually the laziest student in the whole school. So we've just run through a number of math problem things, some sort of warm-up to start with, something to do that you can do back and forth with the students. It could be a game, it could be a discussion question. Then you're going to give the students some chance to do some questions like this on their own, which you will take up and talk about. And now we're ready to move on a little bit. And so I'll bring Asmi back up, because obviously I've just gotten out of my league as the language has changed on me.
Okay, so after they get the warm-up questions, they get the games, if you do games, and then problem-solving questions. After they're excited with the mathematics, we also provide the information, what is the career opportunity in math. So basically, as we are working for actuarial science, we are promoting actuarial science. So I asked them what is the mathematics career that they know, and they will answer just, you know, most of the career that they mention is mathematics teachers and mathematics lecturer. So I also, you know, put not only actuaries here, several of them. I told them that this is only several of them. There's a lot of more. So I will be very specific in actuary. Okay, and then I will start with this quote that actuaries risk is opportunity. And after that, Ready Project has a brief video to showing what is an actuarial science and what is actuary, and in what field they are working, and also about the salary. Because ya kalau gajinya gede terus anak-anak langsung notice gitu ya. So if you can take a look, this one is the video.
penuh dengan resiko akan kejadian buruk, baik itu yang terjadi saat ini ataupun yang bisa terjadi di masa depan.
Namun begitu, risiko-risiko yang mungkin terjadi di masa depan itu sesungguhnya dapat diperkirakan dan juga dihitung. Ada sebuah bidang ilmu yang menghitung risiko yang diperkirakan akan terjadi di masa depan tersebut, yaitu ilmu aktuaria.
Ilmu aktuaria menggunakan matematika, terutama statistika dan probabilitas, guna menghitung risiko. Ia membantu pengambilan strategi yang tepat guna melindungi diri dari risiko yang mungkin terjadi. Profesional yang ahli dalam ilmu aktuaria ini disebut aktuaris.
Aktuaris sangat dibutuhkan industri keuangan yang umum selalu menemukan berisiko, seperti industri asuransi, perbankan, investasi, pasar modal, ataupun program jaminan sosial.
Saat ini, jumlah aktuaris di Indonesia masih sangat sedikit. Menurut data Persatuan Aktuaris Indonesia atau PAI, sampai bulan Juni 2016, jumlah aktuaris yang bergelar FSAI atau Fellow Actuaries baru sekitar 235 orang. Padahal, Indonesia membutuhkan lebih dari 1.000 aktuaris, dan kebutuhan ini akan terus bertambah setiap tahunnya.
Selain sangat membutuhkan, aktuaris mempunyai tanggung jawab yang besar bagi perusahaan maupun masyarakat. Ia mengupayakan perlindungan terhadap risiko-risiko yang mungkin terjadi. Kreativitas seorang aktuaris dihargai dengan penghasilan tinggi dan berbagai fasilitas menarik.
Boleh tertarik untuk menjadi aktuaris? Yuk kita simak sharing pengalaman dari dua kakak yang bekerja sebagai aktuaris untuk MIPA.
Analisa dan perhitungan risiko yang dilakukan oleh seorang aktuaris sebenarnya adalah aplikasi dari ilmu matematika, probabilitas, statistika, ekonomi, akuntansi, dan teori keuangan. Jadi penting bagi seorang aktuaris untuk memiliki kemampuan analisa matematika yang baik serta mampu mengkomunikasikan hasil analisa tersebut kepada pihak-pihak yang terkait.
Syarat utamanya adalah menyelesaikan rangkaian ujian profesionalisme aktuari. Menjadi fellow aktuari di Indonesia, PAI mencatatkan 7 mata ujian yang dapat ditempuh melalui ujian reguler ataupun pernyataan keterampilan. 3 mata ujian harus dengan ujian reguler dan 1 seminar profesionalisme. Karena pada umumnya mata ujian tersebut adalah pelajaran matematika dan statistika, karena itu diperlukan sekali dasar matematika yang kuat untuk menjadi seorang aktuari.
Yeah, so in this video, selain kita memperlihatkan juga apa itu aktuaris, apa itu aktuaria, we really mention that you have to be good in math. Jadi they can prepare since the high school. So that's the message that we are highlighting in this video. So yeah. After that, also we explain more about actuarial science, and then we say that it is about managing the risk, and also we are saying that in actuarial science that is really mathematics, statistics, and also financial theory, and also, we mentioned about professional designation because they have to know after they graduate from mathematics department or actuarial science major even, they have to take the exam. Even though some of the courses have aligned with the exam, but there are 10 exams that they have to take. So, all actuaries are risk managers. They are really like challenge. So we say that all actuaries are risk managers. And then we talk about career opportunity that OJK confirmed that right now they need 140%. So it's more demand than supplies. And after that, we say that, if you want an intellectually challenging degree, so be an actuary, make a difference with numbers and real life application with great impact, which is actually the other career also, But for the actuary, since they have to take the exams, which is really math, so we say that challenging. And also we talk about job satisfaction, about actuary. So we take the data from international job satisfaction, survey, yeah, careercast.com, Forbes.com, and U.S. News and World Report, which is actually have the the good rank in this survey, and also about the salary comparison. And yeah, I think they are really familiar with internet, so we just provide, if you need more about actuarial science information, just go to the website. So we provide the website from SOA, from PAI, from IFOA about actuarial science, and also about our project, because we also provide a lot of information about actuarial science. So that's what we did in school visit.
I should tell you, my son is, my youngest son is first year university in actuarial science. That's exactly what he's doing. And he decided he wanted to go into that before I had anything to do with Ready. And I'll tell you right now, I would not be an actuary. I took one statistics course and ran away as quick as I could. I like problem solving. I like computer science. I wasn't made to be, but he figured out very much on his own that actuary was the place to be. He did all of this, looking on the internet, finding this stuff without me guiding him or anything like that. So you get a good student who you've got interested, they'll go looking further to check on it. So we've now done a fair amount of problem solving. We've talked about all sorts of math careers, and you can tailor that lots of different ways that you might want. We've specifically talked about actuary, and now we're starting to wrap up the visit a little bit. So we certainly want to mention problem of the week. I like to mention problem of the week in front of a class of high school students with their teacher in the back and say, you know what, make sure you get your teacher to go on and sign up for problem of the week so you guys can do problem of the week each. You know, it's that pressure thing to make sure that they remind their teacher to actually get them problem of the week. We talk about the free contests that are coming up in February. All you need to do is get your teacher to go on and register, and you'll be able to do this contest. It is free. Please do it. We talk about all other available contests. You could talk again about the CMC ones that are in English. We could talk about the Indonesian contests that are done all over. We could talk about whatever contests we have available. We talk about doing contests. We might go to some cool math websites and show them some things. Here's one. It's called Crazy Dad. Now, we haven't checked it yet. It was down yesterday or the day before, and we're not sure why. Crazy Dad is a Stanford professor, and he has thousands of Sudokus and killer Sudokus and Kakuros available in all sorts of different levels. It's a wonderful place to get those types of puzzles to play with. We can talk about events that are happening in this area the students might be interested in. I'll give you an example. At Waterloo, we have the Perimeter Institute there, which is a theoretical physics think tank. We get Stephen Hawking coming over on a regular basis to be there. And when some of these top physicists from around the world are going to do an event, we book out a great big auditorium and they'll do a talk. The tickets are usually free, but you have to get them early, otherwise you get shut out. If it's Stephen Hawking that's there, of course, it's you better know somebody to get one of those tickets. But many of the audience in there are high school students. Local high school students come to that sort of stuff all the time because they're interested. Talking about events at the university, what's happening here that they might come to do, because anytime you can get them into your university, you're recruiting. That's what's happening. And that's what we got to talk about now, this soft recruiting thing. You've gone through and done a lot of mathematics with them. You've told them why math is fun. You've told them why math is interesting. You've told them what careers are really cool. And now you're going to talk about your university a little bit. You know, you're going to say something like, hey, did you know that we have an actuarial science program? Did you know We have a computer science program. Did you know? No, I don't care what ones you talk about. Just make sure you put actuary in there someplace, right? It's got to be one of the ones because we're pretty keen on that. But you talk about those things and some of the opportunities that are here at this particular university. You could leave the email or a card if you want for the recruiter for the programs or the admissions officer. I'm not sure what it's called here, but you can leave that information behind. And then students who are really interested, along with their parents, because that seems to happen all the time, can get more information. You can talk about things that are coming up, school fairs or information nights, again, where students and their parents can find out more about those programs. Again, remember what's happened here. You've got them excited about mathematics. You've done mathematics with them. You've shown them where to go. Now let the recruiters close the deal. All right? That's their job. You just get them coming in the right direction. Don't spend a lot of time on this, and definitely don't spend a lot of time on this if you're in a grade 10 class. They don't care. They really don't. They think it's a long way off that they're going to university. The grade 11 is the sweet spot because that's when they've got to be thinking about it, and by grade 12 it's usually already figured out, but probably grade 11. And again, this is your opportunity. You got the kids excited, they've had some fun doing mathematics, and now you're just planting the seed about checking out your university. That's what this is all about. You're not recruiting directly, but yes, you are, by doing something good and helpful for those students. Now, quite often when I'm at a school, I'm doing more than one session at that school. I might be doing one with the grade 10s and one with the grade 12s, say. And that might space over lunchtime. If you ever get a chance, talk to the teachers. Sit down and have lunch with the teachers. Or maybe before or after, depends what works. But if you can sit down with all the math teachers, it's good. Because what happens far too often on these sessions is you're in a classroom with one teacher. And the other teachers are off with their classes. You would really like to get to talk to all of the teachers. And these teachers, they really care. They're really trying to do a good job. I think that's true of math teachers all over the world. But it's a really funny dynamic that's out there. I know that many of you have first-year students coming in, and you're looking at them going, what the heck are those high school math teachers doing? These kids don't know anything. Oh, guess what? The high school math teachers are going, those teachers for the grades 7, 8, 9, those teachers don't know what they're doing because we're getting students who don't know anything about math. And the ones in 7, 8, 9 are saying, what's the matter with the teachers from grade 1 to 6? The only advantage you have as university is you're at the top of the list. There's nobody after you to say what a bad job you're doing. We all seem to blame downhill on a lot of these things. The teachers really want to do a good job, and quite often when they're not doing a good job, it's because of politics. And that's true in every country. Problem with Indonesia? The national test. What happens? You learn everything there is to do well on the national test rather than learning some real good mathematics sometimes. Teaching to the test, I think, is a terrible thing, but that's just my personal bias. In Canada, what's the problem? It's too hard for them. Make it easier, which is the wrong way to go. Anyways, you can talk to the students about, or talk to the teachers, about resources that they can use with their students. I'll show you some of those. You can talk to them about what things the high school students you're seeing are really good at. In fact, make something up if you have to. Tell them that they're really good at something because, that's going to make those teachers puff up and be happy and continue to work hard for you. And of course, the alternate is true. When they ask what the students can't do, deflect it. That's not going to get you anywhere in a conversation. One thing that we have, and so this is a complete grab, I guess, towards the CEMC. One thing the CEMC has is a Masters of Mathematics teaching, and this is a master's program for high school math teachers. They do it while they're teaching. It's an online program. There are a number of teachers in Indonesia doing it right now. It takes them 2 or 3 years to do the program, depending on how hard they want to work at it. And it's not a master's of mathematics. You think about a master's of mathematics, you'd take your 4-year bachelor degree and then you'd talk about mathematics that's above that. This isn't. This is mathematics at like a grade 12 and first year university level, and it's all about trying to make math teachers better. And what a good thing that we're trying to improve the level of the high school math students around here so that when they come to this university, they're better suited to be here. Well, improve their teachers and that'll happen automatically as well. It's a good thing. It's a pretty interesting program that you could point out to any teachers you know. And the real advantage in talking to teachers is that when you talk to the students, most of them forget it by the time they get to lunch. And they certainly don't remember much about it by the time next year comes along. But the teachers hear it, and the teachers will reinforce it. If you tell them something about actuaries, they'll bring that information to all of their students and will continue to do it year after year after year, which makes them a wonderful resource to try to bring on side. So some extensions to this thing. First of all, I want to talk about our website. Again, as I've said to you, we've got a lot of money. We've got a lot of people. In the CMC, we quite often have more people than some of the math departments do at the universities that we're partnering with here. We're a very large organization. And we're providing materials. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on these materials. This is our website, the cmc.uwaterloo.ca. And I'd like to show you just a couple of things on here, if I could. First of all, from a math contest standpoint, we have many of them. We have the Gauss for grades 7 and 8. We have the Pascal, Cayley, and Fermat. Cayley and Fermat are the only two that are being translated into Bahasa Indonesian. Those are all multiple choice. We have the Fryer, Galois, Hypatia, which are full written contests for grade 9, 10, and 11. The Euclid, which is our big one for grade 12. 22,000 of the top students around the world write that contest each year, many in Indonesia. It is an English full written solution out of 100, average mark about 53%. It is not easy. A great mark is 60, 65, 70. We get a handful of students, those very top students in the world, that get over 90. And very, very rarely do we get anybody getting perfect on it. It's very hard. Interesting, if you look at all of those are names of mathematicians. Most of them you should recognize except one. The one you wouldn't recognize is Fryer. Fryer is one of those original University of Waterloo professors that started the math contest. He's one of my dad's best friends, although he passed away a number of years ago. We also have a couple contests in the fall. We have a team math contest. And we have our computer contest. And for any of you that are kind of computer interested, take a look at the Beaver computing contest. It's the bottom one up there. The Beaver computing contest requires no computer, no programming skill. It's all about the algorithm. And there's some really cute questions in there. Take a look at. Beaver, it's because that's Canada's national animal. Along the way. Now, students who are really interested, we have all of the past contests here. Maybe some of you are interested and you'd like to look at them. Here are our contests going back years and years. And so if you'd like to see that, Euclid, here's the 2017 one back to 1998. They're PDFs. You can print them off. They're free. And the solutions are there and the results are there. So you could actually try one of these things if you wanted. Everything we have on this website is free, except for 3 things. One is the Masters of Mathematics teaching. Of course, we're not letting people get masters for free. Second, we have a couple of books that we sell. And third, if you're doing the contests in English, then yes, they do have a price because we try to stay cost neutral on those. One of the things that we have spent the most money on over the last while is our courseware. There is a big push these days to doing online learning of all different sorts, and where people can go on and pass courses and do them online. We've sort of done that, only changed one thing. A, you don't have to pay for it, and B, you can't get a credit for it. Here's the course. It's free. Do whatever you want with it. So we have our pre-calculus course, our calculus and vectors course. These are roughly grade 12, first year university, depends on where you are with them. We have grade 7 and 8 being built right now. And here's 4 computer science courses. And for any of you that have looked at Khan Academy, where somebody's writing on a piece of paper and talking over it, this is Khan Academy on steroids. Why? Well, it's all done in Maple. It's all wonderful graphics and animations and stuff that go along with it, with somebody talking over, with quizzes, with investigations, with full problem sets, solutions to them. And what I tell the kids when I'm talking to them is, okay, I've flown for 26 hours to come to Indonesia to talk to you. And so for me coming all that way to talk to you, you owe me. And so I want you to do one thing for me. And that is, please poke around on this website. See if you can find something useful. See if you can find something good. I say that to all the high school students I talk to. Because maybe they'll go on here and find something. Now, where's this used? Well, I'll give you a couple. First of all, my son last year was the head boy at his high school, and he had to go to a leadership conference on the far side of the country, missed a week of school, right as he's starting calculus. Not great. Had to come back and write a test. How do you do it? He did all the lessons off the calculus that's right here. For students who've missed a few days, there's the lessons. Or for students who really didn't understand the chain rule when they were learning the chain rule, go back and take it up. Your first year students, second year students may have forgotten something, want to refresh on something. There it is. Tell them about it. Have them use it. If you're doing something in calculus, right? It's wonderful stuff. The other thing I know it's being used for, there's high school teachers out there who've taught for 10 or 12 years who are now told they're going to be the calculus teacher next year. And they haven't done calculus since second year university. And they're going, I don't remember calculus. Well, they go do the course here first, and then teach it. No problem at all. Take a look at this stuff. There's some good stuff in here. And the last thing I want to show you is math circles. There's a lot more on here. Math circles is a really cool thing that we get to do, and it's done in a number of other universities around the world. But math circles, we bring the top students from around our area in, and we teach them some mathematics that's not taught in high school. We do enrichment mathematics. And I'd like to talk about the intermediate group. Intermediate is grade 9 and 10. Actually, most of the kids that are in the intermediate group are actually grades 7 and 8, because they really like to be there. And they come in and we do some math with them. And the one that's I'm happiest with, I'll show you in a second, but here's all of the sessions that we've done for grade 9s and 10s going back a number of years. If we went back to 2015, there's one right there that I'm particularly proud of, because I'm dumb enough to try to teach grade 7, 8, some 9 and 10s, how to do all sorts of sequence and series work without using any formulas, and then how to teach them to do proof by induction. In Canada, our education ministry says we can't teach proof by induction to high school students because it's too hard for them. So I taught it to grade 7 and 8s. They can do it. All of this. There's graph theory in here. There's cryptography in here. There's all sorts of things in here. But what a wonderful resource for what some of you could have used when you were in high school. You know, when you got your work done so quickly in your math class and you were waiting for everybody else, why not go on and learn something extra? And what you'll see for these things, certainly in the last number of years, is there's a PDF that's like the lecture notes, there's a problem set, there's the solutions to the problem set, and there's a video. You can actually see, just like this is being videotaped, we do exactly the same thing. Those videos are there. And perhaps you might want to do math circles at this university. How do you do it? You go there. You steal the PDF. I mean, change the header on it or something like that. Put your name on it, not mine. Watch the video and go do it. Bring students in. The more you can bring students into your university, the more opportunities you're going to have in the recruitment side of things. So what things can you do beyond the standard ones we've just sort of talked about? The standard ones that are ready are going to be problem of the week, the 2 math contests. Think about actuary sessions that can be fit into a number of places, and these school visits. But what else might you want to do? Well, you might want to run a Math Circles program. I just told you how to do it and do it easily. You might want to bring top students into your university to do contests here. Whatever contest, I don't care, any contest. Anytime you bring them into the school, they see your university. You might want to make a grade 12 contest like our Euclid. Why are we not using the Euclid here? Why are we not translating it? A, we'd have to find people to mark it, which is a problem. But B, and a probably bigger thing to it than that is, we use it to determine who we give scholarship money to. It's not an entrance exam, but it's certainly a big piece of our admissions protocol. And maybe you want to do one for yourself. Take a look at ours, see how it works. How about running a math camp? We run lots of them. For top students, for not so top students, we run computer science camps for girls. You know, at any engineering group or any computer science group, it's male dominated. We're trying to get more females into those areas. So what's coming up on this outreach stuff? Well, first of all, ASME is, as she does school visits and does any school visits in this area, we'll let you know. And anyone who wants to go watch and see what one of these things looks like, I encourage you to go do that if you're interested in doing this sort of thing. If any of you are going out and doing it, take somebody with you. Talk about it afterwards. What could you change a little bit and make it work a little better? It's a growing process like everything else. I'm going to be back in November for a couple of weeks, and we're going to do this session. We're doing 6 of the partner universities. We hopefully will do the other 3 partner universities, but we may do a couple of sessions as well for anybody else who might be interested in joining in. And again, I liked the faces I saw out there on some of you when I said, hey, did you have an old math teacher who's now retired and looking for something to do? I'd love to do a session with a whole bunch of old math teachers. That would be a lot of fun for me. And anybody who's missed it, we'll try to put a formalized one like this together in several spots in November. And then, like I told you, I'm trying to get out of a job here. I'm trying to retire back to Canada again. And so ASME will be taking it over after that. This is the only thing you really need to copy down off of here. This is where the PowerPoint that we've been using is. It's yours to grab any of it that you might want to use or refresh your mind on anything. The video that we showed as well is also there. So at bit.ly, I guess, and Outreach Ready. Oop, sorry. Back. I thought I had one more slide under there. So I'll leave that up for a second. My last slide is the one that's after this. It says, any questions? So I'll leave this up and say, any questions? Any questions at all? Well, this is where I should bring caramels or something like that. You set one person up to ask a question, you throw them a caramel. And the moment you do that, somebody else will put their hand up. I got through more seminars in university with bags of caramels because I really didn't know anything I was doing. Yes? Your question? Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
How about the doctoral program
So the question has to do with from the education side of stuff. If you're a math education student, is there a doctor of mathematics education at Waterloo? No, there isn't. We do have Masters of Mathematics and Doctor of Mathematics programs, but not within education. As a matter of fact, Waterloo does not even have an education department. The partnership, when I got my degree, the Bachelor of Math, Bachelor of Computer, and Bachelor of Education, the Bachelor of Education actually came from another university that had an education department. I did courses at Waterloo for them and had to go there for part of one summer to make it all work. So no, we don't have any of that. But you've just twigged me on something, if I can go another way. For all of you that are in that education, mathematics education, one of the things that you might want to do is do these school visits. Why do you do it? Well, you want to help the math students. You want to help your university. You want to help yourself. Let's face it. If you're looking to get a job in the future in mathematics education, say in a high school, what better thing could you do than go out and do some school visits at 3 or 4 or 5 schools who you get to shake hands with the people who you might be going to asking for a job? It's good resume building. No matter how you look at it, it's good resume building. So thanks for twigging me on that one. Good question. Any others? Yes. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, one thing that my interest is about branding, what our, physics.
Yeah.
So, I want to know more about how we make our put branding to.
Yeah, like branding really is that's sort of it's a hard to define piece. So for me, the moment I go into a high school and I start talking and so on, and maybe I'm introduced and I can say, hey, I'm from Waterloo, the largest math university in the world. There's our branding. That's it, right? So if I was a physics person from Waterloo and I was going out, and I can't understand why our science department doesn't do this, other than like every other place, it's hard to do it. But why don't they go out, and you could go out in our area, you could go out all over Ontario, you could go out all over the world, and you could talk about physics. You could do some, physics is easy. Bring a couple toys along with you, because there's all these cool toys in every science discipline. You know, if you're a chemist, bring something that blows up. Kids love it when you blow something up. Or, you know, you get your hair standing up, or whatever you might do. The science people have it so easy because of the toys. The engineer people have it so easy. Take out a robot of some sort and have it do something, and the kids go, ooh, ah. It's actually harder for us math people to get the interest level going. But you go out and you wow them and you do some physics and you do some things, but along the way, you're talking about the cool physics stuff that's happening at your university. Now for me, of course, from Waterloo, if I was doing it, I'd be out talking about the cool stuff that's happening at our university and also talking about the Perimeter Institute, which, by the way, isn't part of the university. It was one of the guys from the BlackBerry who put $100 million into building a theoretical physics think tank, right? But when they come to do their experiments, they do them all at our university. So there's a good trade back with them. But I would use that as part of the same thing, saying, hey, physics Waterloo, it's really, really cool, you know, and we got really cool physics around us. That's what you're doing. That's the brand, right? Not something, a logo or no. The brand is just that they know who you are, right? And they know why you're special. Okay? Good question. Any more? Well, thank you very much for spending all this time with us. And On the beginning of the slides, my email was there, Asmi's email was there. By all means, please contact us with any questions or any ideas or any experiences. I love to hear that sort of thing along the way. And I thank you so much. I'm happy to chat to any of you who might want to chat individually, but we thank you for your time.